we're here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I'm Stuart Burson, the prevention coordinator for the agency, taking the show on the road today all the way to San Augustine, where we're at the Family Crisis Center's San Augustine office. And with me on the podcast today is Lizzet Mendoza. She is our San Augustine area legal advocate. And thank you, Lizzet, for you're such a good sport for letting me drive all the way over here and bring my stuff to do this.
Yes, thank you so much, Stuart, for having me and
Sure.
for coming all the way out here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess first of all, and probably a few weeks ago, I had Noah, who is our legal advocate in Nacogdoches, and I guess you kind of do the same thing in this area, but I still want to kind of describe exactly what are your duties when we talk about a legal advocate. What exactly are we talking about here?
Of course. And usually Noah and I have similar jobs and tasks. As legal advocates, we're here to support the victims and survivors in any way that we can, all the way from divorces and custody orders. And usually we're helping them collect any type of supporting documents, such as birth certificates, if there's any children involved, marriage certificates, any deeds to any important property or assets. And
Sure.
then we submit it to legal aid to then reviews their cases to see if they'll pick it up at completely free of cost to our survivors. And then we also help them with protection orders, emergency protection orders, collecting further supporting information, collecting screenshots of harassment, of phone calls, threats, and even police reports. So we're collecting them and submitting them over to the county attorney's office. But more so here in a community like San Augustine and Shelby and Sabine, which is the three counties that I serve.
Okay.
I'm the only person out here. And in Nacogdoches and in Lufkin, we have, our intake specialist who takes care specifically of any incoming clients, open them up, do paperwork with them, consent forms, and go over the contract. Since I'm the only one out here, I'm having to do quite a few different tasks.
So really, you are kind of doing more than just the legal advocate side of this. You're doing intakes and everything then.
Yes, that's correct. So whenever I get a hotline call or if they refer a call to me, I'll see what their schedule is like, try to see when we can meet up. And what I like to do is I like to get as much information as I can to see what exactly they're needing help with. If it's food stamps, if it's housing, protection order, or custody. That way, whenever they come in, I have all the applications ready for them. Or if I can email them and they can print them out at their job or somewhere, they can have most of it completed. That way, whenever they do come and meet with me, they don't have to come to various appointments, because it is a pretty long way. If they're living in Shelby or Sabine County, it's about a 30-mile drive that they have to make. So what my goal is for them to have to leave work or have to take their kids out of school early to meet with me. So I want to prevent that because, it can be it can cause a strain on them.
Sure. I don't know if this would be the case or not, but being in such a rural area, are there, you kind of compared what you do compared to what maybe like Nacogdoches or Lufkin would do. Are there any unique needs for someone like you in rural East Texas, or do you face, I guess, maybe unique situations that maybe someone in a larger town or city wouldn't deal with?
Of course. And we definitely do run into, whenever you're just thinking about people who have been through such trauma like abuse, you already have anticipated certain barriers. But then when you consider them in a rural community, you have to consider what are the concepts in rural communities. And, there's an increase of poverty in rural towns. Increase in higher drug use and mental health needs, while lower rates of workforce, lower rates of resources out here. So whenever you combine all these things, it just creates greater barriers to survivors trying to leave a domestic violence situation. So my role here is not only to connect them with the resources necessary, but also educating them on what their rights are and, what other resources are out here in the area. And not only, just the community or the survivors themselves, but also other law enforcement agencies, because rural communities face greater barriers as far as, if it's law enforcement trying to get grants to hire new personnel or victim service coordinators to assist victims of assault situations like domestic violence or sexual assault. They're competing with bigger towns. And of course, with bigger work opportunities in a bigger town like Dallas, most of those grants are going to go over there, whereas small communities like ours in St. Augustine, Shelby, and Sabine, we may have more limited resources. So maybe an officer is not available at middle of the night when a domestic violence call comes in, and they're having to wait till our office opens at 8, or they can't come to our safe house. So it just creates a greater increase of barriers. So to have a presence here in St. Augustine, I feel like it's connecting them and giving them some hope that that help is out there.
Okay. So what's a typical day-to-day, or I guess what is your typical day consists of here?
Yeah, and a typical day for me, it's usually I'm either following up with clients. It's a lot of text messaging, lots of calls back and forth from one another.
Okay.
Them following up on if I need more information from them, asking me to follow up with the district attorney's office to see how the criminal case is going, or following up with county attorney's office to see if they qualify for a protection order. It's a lot of calls, making calls to different organizations and different partners that will help us meet our end goal.
Okay. Sure. Let's kind of talk a little bit about, I guess, your experience in this job itself. What is it that really you like most about what you're doing?
Whenever I think about my job, it's not something that I dread coming to work. I love my job. I've always wanted to help people. And the thing that I would say I love the most is being able to go out into my community and, surrounding counties and talking to them about what our services are and who qualifies for services. Something I always hear is, I've lived here for 20 plus years and I've never heard about your agency. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that y'all are here and helping us. So it's always very rewarding to hear that from the community. And then nonetheless, to see the faces of our survivors whenever they've left a court hearing and, it's good news to have a divorce finally in place, to have custody orders in place. It's a very rewarding experience overall.
Do you find it pretty easy to work with county and city officials, like the DA's office, the sheriff's office, police, or whoever else you need to have contact with and work with?
For the most part, I would say that whenever, I'm requesting documents or needing help with certain situations, I've had pretty good support from most of our agencies, with the county attorney's office, especially in Sabine County. The county attorney's office has always been very great at working with us. Whenever they realize that Family Crisis Center is involved, they are very helpful with us and they connect us with whatever resource we may be needing. So for example, if I'm having to go out to Sabine and meet with someone, they help me coordinate a private room to where it's confidential enough and, considering that transportation can be an issue.
Yeah.
And then as far as other law enforcement, they've also been really great at meeting us with whatever need we may have. We have our sexual assault response teams in Sabine and in St. Augustine, and we've gotten great support from law enforcement and the district attorney's office as well.
Okay, great. So what is your background? I know Lizzet, the Family Crisis Center person, but where are you from? Where did you go to school?
So I actually graduated from St. Augustine High School in 2016. I then went on to study social work in Stephen F. Austin State University, and I actually stuck through the program and got my master's.
Okay, so
in
you
it
do
as
have
well.
so you do have your master's.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do.
I think it's really interesting and pretty kind of neat that you're from St. Augustine and you're serving this area. I think that really kind of makes you maybe people will feel more comfortable working with you. You know that you're a St. Augustine native. You know that you're one of the citizens here. Let's say.
Yes, and I feel like having grown up in St. Augustine, I'm familiar with a few local people, such as the mayor. I knew him growing up as well, so it has opened some doors and created greater partnerships with certain agencies.
Sure.
But then at the same time, I know it could be a cause of worry for someone who is local and maybe wanting services, but they may think, oh, well, I know her, confidentiality may be an issue. But that's one thing that our agency does is very protective about, is that
Sure.
confidentiality
Right.
for our survivors and making sure that they're safe.
Yeah. What made you decide to even pursue this social work, right? Growing up in a rural community like this, what is it about the social work field that you were attracted to?
Well, growing up, I always wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in other people's lives. And I was a first-generation college student. I was the first person in my college to go to college. And my parents immigrated from Mexico. So I was the first one at doing a lot of things. And applying for college was very hard on me because I had to ask a lot of questions. I didn't know exactly what resources were out there. So that's kind of the path that I wanted to go, is maybe be like a school, a social worker, connecting them with whatever resource. But I just realized that I wanted more hands-on experience. And I heard whenever I was in my bachelor's, in my undergraduate, there was other classmates who had interned at the Family Crisis Center. And I learned, about how traumatic domestic violence and abuse can be, and the need for someone to be trauma focused, and all the different array of services and needs that they may be having. And I knew that that was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was pretty quick and painless, right?
Yes.
And in all fairness, Lizzet was not nervous or anything. Sometimes when we do these, people really get kind of tensed up about this. But no, I really do appreciate you letting me come out here and interrupt your day and taking a little bit of time out to do this.
Yes, thank you so much, Stuart.
All right, Lizzet Mendoza, again, she is our St. Augustine legal advocate, talking a little bit about her jobs and responsibilities as a legal advocate, amongst other things, here for the Family Crisis Center. And if you feel like you need our services, if you feel like you need the Family Crisis Center for if you're a survivor of any type of relationship violence situation, we do have a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week hotline. That number is 1-800-828-7233. And be sure to subscribe to Conversations and Connections. You can subscribe via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and pretty much any podcast service of your choice. Remember, always be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.